This world has turned into a bizarre hellscape, overrun by monsters immune to ordinary weapons. Humanity's only hope lies in a select few with supernatural powers. Among them, the strongest was our protagonist, Kay. But even he wasn't all-powerful. When he was betrayed by his own organization and left trapped with dozens of monsters, he met his end. Fortunately, he was sent back in time, to a point before the apocalypse. Reborn as a baby, Kay retained both his knowledge of the monsters and his main ability, the power to absorb the skills and traits of any creature he defeats. As he looks around more closely, confusion hits him. He's somehow become an infant. Just as he's trying to make sense of this strange situation, a slippered foot enters the room. Kay instantly tenses up, retreating into the corner of the crib, wary of the stranger towering over him. His mind races with question. Is this person connected to the organization? But then, the woman leans down with a warm smile and lovingly calls him Achan. It turns out, this odd woman is actually his mother, who came in after noticing he was awake. She returns to the kitchen, reassured that her baby is safe. Meanwhile, Kay, now Achan, takes a moment to observe his surroundings. Everything appears peaceful, spotless. Nothing like the ruined world he remembers. The TV is on. He hears neighbors outside, and there's no sign of monsters. Clearly, this is an era of peace. If he's been reborn here as a baby, it must mean he's been reincarnated into a different world, one where the apocalypse never occurred. More importantly, there's no trace of that damned organization. For the first time in forever, Achan gets a taste of true freedom. Despite everything he endured, fate hasn't completely abandoned him. This day marks a new beginning. He glances at the nearest calendar. The year is 2020. That means he's woken up before the great catastrophe. Not ideal, especially in his current baby form. He can't walk without holding on to something. His limbs are too weak to support him, and his voice, unfamiliar and underdeveloped, makes speaking impossible. It's a nightmare. Time is precious, and he can't afford to grow up like a normal child while the end of the world approaches. He looks over at his mother and wonders, can he rely on her? Or perhaps, instead of depending on her, he could use her, like a puppet, to fulfill his mission. Surely she must be good for something. Even if she seems clumsy and unreliable, she's the only adult he has access to. But any hopes are crushed when a few boxes fall off a shelf. She's clearly not agile. Then she starts cooking and dumps a ridiculous amount of flour into a bowl, nearly setting the kitchen on fire in the process. She's bad at cooking, bad with her hands, but at least she tries. Even with her hair slightly scorched from the earlier fire, she still does her best to care for her child. It already feels like the end of the world. His new life isn't off to a great start. Suddenly, the doorbell rings. His mother rushes to answer it. A delivery has arrived, but before opening the door, she has to search for her wallet to pay. While she's gone, Achan thinks about that word, package. It sends a chill down his spine. The last time he heard it, it was during the outbreak when infected delivery workers unknowingly spread the virus to hundreds. As the realization hits, the front door creaks open. A chilling voice calls out from the other side, urging him to take the package. Just as Achan feared, the delivery worker is infected. A monster. Even as a baby, he can't allow fear to take over. He scans the room. The only things he can use are a baby bottle and a pillow. He grabs the pillow and tosses it to the floor just as the monster fires a blast toward his crib. The attack rips through the wooden bars. Achan quickly grabs his bottle and dives onto the pillow below, barely dodging certain death. A hit like that would have ended him instantly. Thankfully, his past life has taught him how to fight monsters. But even with that knowledge, there's no way he can defeat this enemy in his current state. It appears to be an enhanced monster, and the tentacles sprouting from its head look even more dangerous than before. But there's one thing Achan knows for sure. Powerful monsters like this are awful at taking sharp turns. With a calculated move, he lightly tosses his baby bottle beneath the charging creature. It steps on it, loses its footing, and goes flying over his head, smashing straight through the window. For the first time, Achan actually feels thankful for all the brutal fights he experienced in his past life. Just as he begins to enjoy his small victory, something unexpected happens. A tail shoots out from his back and snakes out the window after the monster. It reaches the fallen creature lying outside and begins devouring the monster's core like a living being. Achan grabs hold of the tail, watching in surprise as it chomps away. He instantly recognizes it. This is the tail of Toad, a powerful ability he possessed in his previous life. What confuses him, though, is why he still has it even after reincarnating. The Great Catastrophe is supposed to take place 4 years from now. In his former life, Kay wasn't even born until 3 years after it happened. He has no clue why he's back this early. But having this ability now is a huge stroke of luck. Back then, he only gained this power by absorbing the core of a monster that had the coyote tail. Now he has it from the very start. Even better, the earlier someone awakens their power, the stronger it becomes over time. To test his strength, he morphs his hand into a blade and slams it into the side of his crib, bending the metal with ease. In his past life, he awakened as an S rank at age 7, but now he has the potential to become the mythical triple S rank, the highest tier of power. This is his golden ticket to fame, fortune, and beautiful women. With that in mind, there's no reason for him to stick around pretending to be a clueless infant. He begins crawling away to start his new journey, but the damaged crib, now weakened, starts tipping over. It's falling and aiming right for him. Achan tries to move, but his tiny body gives out. He's helpless. The last thing he sees before his vision fades is his mother running toward him in a panic. As the crib crashes down, memories of his old life flood back. He remembers his ruthless master, a man who forced him to endure horrific trials like eating dog food just to survive, all to prove that he was nothing more than the organization's obedient mutt. Achan clenches his teeth in anger, filled with hatred for being labeled the organization's dog. He slowly awakens to sunlight hitting his face. Looks like he passed out after defeating the monster. Struggling to sit up, he sees his mother nearby, quietly writing in a notebook. She saved him. Now he wonders, why did he black out to begin with? The answer's obvious. The power of his ability is too much for his infant body. He used it for only 30 seconds, and it drained everything from him. He needs to grow stronger, fast, if he wants to control it without collapsing. While deep in thought, he hears her sobbing. Curious, he peeks at her notebook and sees it plastered with sticky notes. She wrote about how she almost lost her precious treasure. She must mean him. A large bruise is visible on her back, likely from shielding him during the crib collapse. In his previous life, his so-called mother would have gladly sold him out for money, but this woman risked everything to protect him. Moved, Achan reaches out with his tiny hand to comfort her. She feels his touch and immediately scoops him into a tight embrace. This woman is different. That's enough reason for him to stay with her, at least for now. Still, time is short. The world is going to change in less than a week. Another monster is probably already on its way, and he can't afford to be helpless again. He has to last more than just 30 seconds in a fight. Meanwhile, outside their apartment, a window cleaner winces in pain. Blue slime leaks from his eyes, mouth, and nose. The ooze slithers down into the drain pipes, heading toward a specific destination. Back inside, as Han plans his next move, his mother brings over something covered with a red cloth. She pulls it off to reveal a dog in a cage, a gift from a neighbor so her baby boy won't be lonely. Achan instantly recognizes the dog. It's the same fierce mutt from his past life. He never thought he'd see it again. The dog is way too big for a baby's companion, but this might be a blessing in disguise. Maybe his mom isn't so useless after all. If he trains the dog right, it could become a strong partner, or even grow into a proper mode of transportation. Having a big dog might not be such a bad thing after all. His mother smiles at the little grin on his face. It looks like she made the right choice, and at the very least, it made him happy. She leaves the two of them to play while she gets back to doing chores around the house. Achan locks eyes with the dog, wondering what exactly he's supposed to do with it. First things first, he needs to feed it. He hands the dog a sausage from the kitchen and gives it a command to eat. If the dog accepts, it'll signal the start of their bond, and training can begin. But despite the baby's effort to form a contract, the dog seems too dim-witted to grasp what's happening. As it bends down to take the sausage, Achan stomps on its head, trying to assert dominance. However, just because the dog doesn't understand his words doesn't mean it's going to put up with disrespect. With 2 quick strikes from its paws, the dog smacks Achan across the face, sending the baby flying. Then, without a care, it turns back and calmly enjoys the sausage. But Achan isn't going to let that slide. He lets out a battle cry and launches himself at the dog, tackling it with everything he's got. The two tumble around fighting while the mother, hearing the noise, peeks in and laughs at their antics. It looks like the pair are already on their way to becoming friends. While cooking, the mother suddenly realizes she's out of flour. As she bends down to look for more, a blue slime creeps up from the kitchen sink, looming over the fighting duo. But its true target is the woman, still distracted by her missing flour. The slime monster rises into the air, preparing to strike. But the dog leaps into action, charging forward and pushing her safely into the cupboard below the sink just in time. Luckily, the mother remains clueless about the danger around her. While the slime and the dog wrestle behind her, Achan watches, unimpressed. The monster is too weak to pose a real threat, but it's still a nuisance. Because it's made of liquid, slashing or stabbing it won't work. They'll need a different approach. The mother tries to stand up, clutching her head in pain, unaware of the chaotic fight behind her. Meanwhile, the slime starts to envelop the dog, shifting form as it does. Achan realizes he has to act quickly before the situation escalates. He remembers from his previous life that slimes are highly vulnerable to dryness. Scanning the room, he spots his bottle filled with powdered milk. Without hesitation, he uncaps it and tosses it at the monster. The milk strikes its target. The slime recoils, shrinking rapidly, bouncing frantically around the kitchen as it dehydrates in panic. Seizing the moment, Achan grabs a dustbin and slams it down over the creature, trapping it. For now, the danger has passed. The dog and his mother cautiously peek out from behind the counter. Then, boom! She accidentally knocks over a bag of flour, spilling it all over both of them, leaving them more confused than ever. Flustered, she runs off to wash herself before the flour stains her clothes. Achan, meanwhile, enjoys the thrill of catching a monster. He knows slimes can be useful. Their fluids act as natural repellents. If he spreads it around the windows, it could help ward off future monster attacks. But just as things settle down, the dustbin begins to rattle. The slime bursts out, using the quiet moment as an escape opportunity. The dog jumps in front of it, and Achan rushes in to trap it again. But this time, the slime dodges entirely, slipping past them. Before leaving, it even has the nerve to raise a middle finger as it slides out the window. It broke into their home, caused chaos, and now it's trying to leave like nothing happened. It may be weak, but its arrogance is unbearable. Achan grabs a nearby umbrella and hops onto the dog's back, his loyal steed. It's time to give chase. There's no way they're letting that thing get away and cause more trouble. They rush down to the ground floor and spot the slime perched atop a nearby building. It drips goo onto the head of a girl walking below, and she looks up, just in time to see the slime lunging down, aiming to swallow her whole. Achan and the dog dash forward to intercept. He knows if he relies on brute strength alone, there's no way he can win this fight. If they let the monster devour the girl freely, the entire street would soon be drenched in blood, a scene Achan has witnessed far too many times in his past life. The dog acts just in time, racing ahead and leaping over the girl. Meanwhile, Achan opens his umbrella midair, shielding her from the rain of slime. But the monster isn't finished. It bounces off the umbrella, now aiming straight for the dog and the baby. Achan knows he can only use his powers briefly, so he has just one chance to end it. Without hesitation, he channels his energy and fires off a powered-up punch. The attack blasts through the slime with devastating force, instantly obliterating it. Slime rains down around them, the monster completely defeated, as Achan and the dog stand tall in victory. Thankfully, they made it in time to save the girl, but the relief is short-lived. The moment she sees Achan use his powers, her eyes widen in fear. She bolts, sprinting down the street without looking back. It's understandable considering what she just witnessed. A baby fighting a monster. Still, now Achan has another problem, the mess left behind. As he sighs, a tail slithers out from beneath his diaper and begins absorbing the leftover slime scattered across the road. This tail isn't just for show. It has the ability to absorb other monsters' powers. In his previous life, Kay could only hold one ability at a time. He had to swap out each new power, replacing the old one. But now, the tail is devouring the slime's remains and converting its abilities into Achan's own. To test it, Achan forms a small slime orb in his hand, and sure enough, the power works. It appears both the coyote tail and slime abilities are active together. Back then, Kay avoided switching abilities too often, afraid the organization would catch on. That caution eventually led to his defeat. But something's different now. The tail of Toad seems to have evolved on its own. It's likely due to his young age. The earlier a person awakens their power, the more adaptable and powerful they become. Kay had unlocked his abilities at age 10, and even then most kids his age died from exposure to monster toxin. Now, Achan is younger than any candidate from his past life. His growth potential is unlike anything seen before. While he's deep in thought, the dog safely carries him home. Achan hops off his fuzzy mount and immediately begins using his new slime powers to coat the area, forming a barrier that should repel monsters from the apartment. But even that small task leaves him completely drained. Right now, thinking about collecting new powers or mastering the ones he has is pointless. His stamina is far too low to do anything significant. Still, thanks to the slime barrier, there's no need to worry too much. The monsters shouldn't bother them for a while. Completely worn out, Achan collapses to the floor. The dog approaches, but instead of being friendly, it has a sinister glint in its eye. It's payback time. The dog grabs Achan by the scruff of his shirt and lifts him off the ground. For a second, Achan genuinely believes he's about to be turned into dog food. Back inside, his mother steps out of the shower, finally cleaned up from the earlier flour spill. She walks into the living room to check on her son, only to find him seemingly snuggled up with the dog. From her perspective, it looks adorable. But beneath that warm picture, Achan is fighting for his life, pinned under the full weight of his overly affectionate protector. Hours pass before he finally escapes the furry trap and gets back to work. This time, he thoroughly coats the windows, air vents, and drain pipes with the special slime. If a large-scale attack happens again, the apartment will be well protected, for a while at least. While doing this, Achan learns something crucial about his tail. Apparently, it can now store up to 4 abilities at once, a massive improvement compared to his past life where he could only hold one at a time. Right now, he can access both the coyote tail and the slime ability, but only for about 30 seconds. To survive the next catastrophe, he needs to prepare more thoroughly. One of the most important things for any apocalypse survivor isn't just power, it's supplies. After the disaster, most deaths weren't even caused by monsters. People died from starvation. As logistics collapsed and panic took over, those who managed to stockpile food and essentials early on avoided the worst of the chaos. In fact, with enough resources, one could even gain followers, people desperate to survive, and build a force strong enough to weather the darkest parts of the apocalypse. Achan knows he needs to prepare as soon as possible, but being a baby comes with major limitations. Supermarkets are crowded now, and it's only a matter of time before they become overrun with monsters. If even a single person gets infected, the virus will spread like wildfire, and there'll be no stopping it. In his current body, there's no way Achan can fight off a horde. But right now, he also doesn't have many options for gathering supplies. As he racks his brain for alternatives, his mother's phone buzzes on the living room table. Curious, he waddles over to check it and notices messages popping up in the landlord's group chat. Luckily, the phone isn't locked, so with a few taps, he opens it up and reads the conversation. The residents are talking about a strange virus going around and how infected people are acting like monsters. It's obvious they have no idea what's really coming, but Achan is more than happy to give them a glimpse of what's ahead. He quickly creates an anonymous account, jumps into the chat, and starts warning them. He explains that a massive disaster is on the horizon and urges everyone to stock up on supplies before it's too late. But even though he's offering genuine advice, no one takes him seriously. The fact that his account is brand new doesn't help either. With no profile picture or history, he looks like just another troll. There's nothing more he can do, not as a baby, and not in these forums. At this rate, they'll all die long before the organization even comes into existence. Suddenly, a friend request appears on the screen. He accepts it out of curiosity. The person wastes no time. They say they want to make a deal, assuming he's really looking for supplies. The username is Hot, and the name immediately rings a bell. That was the alias of a woman who worked for the organization, someone dangerous and cunning. And sure enough, it's her. On the other side of the screen, Hot lounges in a chair, surrounded by computers and glowing monitors. She's clearly intrigued by who she's talking to, even if she doesn't yet know the truth. It's obvious that her mysterious contact, Achan, is being extremely cautious, but she doesn't want to waste time, so she lays out a straightforward offer. She'll give him access to any supplies he needs. Food, water, armor, whatever he wants. The only thing that comes at a price is information. That'll cost him 100 million yen. Still, transport is an issue for her, so she offers a deal. In exchange for the right intel, he'll give her 20% of whatever supplies he collects. Her tone and demands sound almost childish, especially that 100 million yen price tag, but it fits the manipulative style he remembers. There's no doubt now. This is the Hot from the organization. He presses her, asking bluntly why he should trust a single word she says. And more importantly, why should he even agree to any of this? She fires back, asking if he's looking to make her an enemy rather than an ally. She'd rather work together than waste energy on distrust. Achan doesn't respond right away, but finally agrees to hear her out. He asks where he can pick up the supplies. She says she left the details in a mailbox on the bottom floor of his apartment building. The organization hasn't formed yet, which means Hot isn't one of its leaders. Not yet. But even now, she's a dangerous woman who uses information like a weapon. Once she targets someone, she exploits them for everything they're worth. Manipulation is second nature to her. There's no chance she genuinely wants to get along. She's baiting him into a trap, plain and simple. But this time, Achan isn't the same naive fool he once was. He's the one who plans to shake things up. Before doing anything, he takes a 2-hour nap to recover his energy. When he wakes, his stamina has fully returned, and he's ready to retrieve the intel. But there's a problem. The elevator has security cameras, and he's not about to reveal his identity so easily. His solution? Use the stairs instead. That's when reality hits him. He's still a baby. The stairs are way too big, and climbing them with his current body is out of the question. In that case, he'll just have to rely on his fluffy companion. Achan turns his gaze to the dog, peacefully napping on the couch. Right now, that mud is his only chance of reaching the mailbox downstairs. He walks over and grabs the dog's tail, attempting to drag it awake. But the dog is far from amused. With a flick of its tail, it smacks Achan across the face, sending him flying with a bright red cheek. So much for taming the beast. Looks like they're still far from being allies. And that's when Achan spots something on the kitchen counter. A box of treats. Perfect. He pours a handful of the snacks into his tiny hands and holds them up to the dog's nose. In seconds, the dog wakes up, sniffs the treats, and immediately agrees to help. Turns out, despite its intimidating attitude, the dog is easy to win over. With transportation secured, Achan has to move fast. He needs to retrieve Hot's information before his mother wakes up. He rides the dog through the apartment, eventually reaching the mailbox area. There, sticking out of one of the mail slots, is a bright pink letter. That has to be the target. But there's a problem. A camera is pointed right at the mailboxes. Obviously, Hot wants to confirm the identity of whoever picks it up. If she gets even a glimpse of his face, she'll sell the information instantly, and he'll lose the advantage. She never messes with people unless she knows who they are. That's why Achan must stay anonymous. Time to throw her off. He activates his ability, and thin red slime tendrils slither across the room, scanning every corner for suspicious activity. Aside from the building's standard security cam, he finds 3 hidden ones, likely installed by Hot herself. She's trying really hard to unmask him. In her dark room, surrounded by monitors, Hot leans back in her chair and smirks. She's eager to see what poor fool falls for her trap. But then, she receives a notification from the mysterious contact. He claims he's already retrieved the information. Shocked, she scrambles to rewind the camera feed, but all she can see is a dog standing near the mailboxes. What she doesn't see is Achan hiding just behind the dog, perfectly positioned in the camera's blind spot. He carefully reads the letter while shielded, then snatches the flyer and bolts before anyone notices. The flyer details a clearance sale at a nearby supermarket, his likely destination. While Achan scans through the information, Hot begins spamming his messages. She demands to know who he really is. Smirking, Achan replies, if she wants his identity, she'll have to pay him 100 million yen. That infuriates her. Whoever this guy is, he's mocking her, and she won't let it slide. She activates one of her elite surveillance tools, a spider-shaped robot, hidden in a nearby drain. The high-tech device is equipped with a camera, microphone, and is resistant to water, magnets, heat, shocks, basically everything. It begins crawling toward Achan and the dog, but before it can get close, squish! A pair of fluffy slippers stomp it into the floor. Hot gasps. Her $30 million surveillance bot, obliterated in an instant. The one responsible? Achan's mother. She had come downstairs to look for her son, having not seen him for a while. Now, all that remains of Hot's prized spider is a broken shell on the floor, its functions reduced to about 4% capacity. Hot groans in frustration, but at least the audio is still working. She hears a female voice, and then realizes something else. The call function is active too. They should be able to hear her. She grabs the mic and starts threatening, warning that just because her spider was crushed doesn't mean they've won. She promises to expose every message, every dark secret, to ruin whoever this mysterious opponent is, but no one responds. The voices she hears continue chatting, completely unaware of her presence. Someone comments on the weather, mentioning light clothes and the risk of catching a cold. That's when Hot realizes they can't hear her. She's been talking to herself the whole time. Even worse, no matter how much she digs through her network, she can't uncover who she's dealing with. This mystery person is completely off the grid. Meanwhile, Achan enjoys a free ride home, cradled in his mother's arms as she scolds him for sneaking off alone. Back at the entrance, Hot's ruined spider-bot lies crushed on the floor, only 4% functional and completely useless. Hot eventually contacts Achan again, unexpectedly offering both the information and the supplies for free. It's almost disappointing how quickly she backed down, especially after causing so much trouble. When they return to the apartment, Achan surprisingly avoids punishment for sneaking out. His mother assumes the dog opened the door on its own and that the baby sleepily crawled out afterward. Because of this, she decides the dog can't be trusted for now and ties it up to prevent any future incidents. According to Hot, a warehouse-style supermarket is set to open soon, and she plans to provide supplies from an inventory she acquired from others. Despite everything, she's being oddly generous. If Achan wants to collect materials, he has to do it soon. But the first hurdle is figuring out how to get to the supermarket. He leaves a flyer on the table in plain sight, hoping his mother will take the hint. Unfortunately, she doesn't even notice it. He can't exactly tell her about the apocalypse directly, but he has to nudge her in the right direction somehow. While thinking through his options, he overhears her mention they only have 5 days' worth of milk left, a perfect opening. Achan knocks over his milk cup, spilling it across the table, then pretends to be asleep when she comes to investigate. As she begins cleaning the mess, her eyes finally land on the flyer. She picks it up, reads it, and begins to consider going to the supermarket, exactly as Achan planned. The day of the trip arrives. To Achan's dismay, she dresses him in bright pink baby clothes before heading out. The dog stays home, well-fed, and left behind. At the supermarket entrance, they're stopped by a security guard who questions why they're there. He warns them that an infectious disease is spreading and that people should stay indoors. Achan's mother tries to explain she just wants powdered milk for her child, but the guard isn't moved. He's a government worker following orders. Achan knows this won't matter soon. The government will fall apart soon enough. As the guard continues talking, he doesn't notice a hulking monster sneaking up behind him until it places a massive hand on his head. In an instant, the monster clenches its fist and crushes the man's skull like a watermelon. Now it turns its gaze on Achan and his mother. This monster is far bigger than anything he's faced before. And worse, it's a proliferative type, meaning it has no clear weaknesses. Achan doesn't want to reveal his powers, but if he doesn't act, both he and his mother will die right here. Before he can do anything, his mother scoops him out of the stroller and makes a run for it. But Achan knows it's useless. This creature isn't just fast, it's inhumanly fast. She won't escape on foot. As the monster closes in, Achan spots a case of fire extinguishers mounted on the wall. He uses his ability to shatter the glass, causing a small explosion that floods the area with thick gas. The sudden cloud gives him just enough cover to slip out of his mother's grasp and launch an attack. He strikes the monster with full force, sending it crashing into a wall. From this moment, he has 30 seconds, just 30, to finish the job before the dust clears and before his mother regains consciousness. Luckily, she was knocked out by the earlier shock. The monster's core is located in its head. If he can land a clean hit there, it'll be over. But the creature took his previous blow without much damage. This time, Achan has to finish it in one clean strike. No shortcuts, no tricks, just raw strength. At least now he can stand. He's not forced to crawl anymore. The monster lunges at him with terrifying speed, but Achan rolls out of the way. Without hesitation, he activates his power, unleashing sharp, thin strands of his toad ability. It's time to end this. He didn't manage to finish off the monster, but at least he made it bleed with that powerful strike. Things aren't looking great right now, but Achan is confident. He's the one who's going to win this fight. He charges forward again, certain that he can at least hold his own this time. Thanks to his small size, he easily dodges most of the monster's attacks and uses his toad ability's string to swing around its massive body, wrapping it up tightly. When he lands, he pulls the string taut, slicing through the creature's body with precision. It looks like the upper hand is his now, but he still needs to hit the monster's head, the only way to truly end it. Fortunately for him, the monster's massive size makes it difficult to land a direct hit on a nimble, fast-moving baby. It can't unleash its full strength either, forced to constantly keep up with his unpredictable speed. To the monster, it's like chasing a mouse through a maze. Eventually, Achan begins outmaneuvering and exhausting the beast. Bit by bit, he wears it down until its movements grow sluggish. This is where his experience pays off. Countless battles from his past life have prepared him for moments like this. Now, the monster's power is greatly diminished. One final blow might be enough to finish it, but he can't afford to get overconfident. The creature, despite being weakened, uses the last of its strength to tear a sharp spike from its own back and hurl it at Achan with terrifying force. He manages to dodge the attack, barely, but it still grazes his forehead, leaving a deep cut. He quickly retreats, putting distance between himself and the monster. If it keeps throwing those spikes, getting close will be nearly impossible. He needs a new plan, maybe a distraction or a surprise strike, anything to end this before his strength fades. The side effects of using his full power are creeping in. His time is running out. Maybe his only option now is to grab his mother and run. But just as he's trying to make a decision, he sees her, confused, and wandering on the ground floor, searching for him. His time ran out faster than expected. She's awake. As she looks around in a panic, she locks eyes with the monster towering over her. Instead of running, she reaches into her pocket for something. Achan screams at her to run. There's no way she can fight this thing, but she's the protagonist's mother, and apparently, she's got a few tricks of her own. She pulls out a stun gun from her pocket and fires it at the creature, zapping it with a burst of electricity. The shock causes the monster to freeze up, just long enough for Achan to act. This is the perfect opening. He leaps from the rooftop toward the street below, just as the monster recovers and swipes at his mother, sending her crashing to the ground. Luckily, she lands face down, away from the action, unaware of what's coming next. From above, Achan descends like a missile, energy surging around his leg, his final attack locked in. The monster looks up just in time to see a glowing baby coming straight for its head. The strike hits dead center, cracking the monster's skull and killing it on the spot. It's over. Achan walks over to his mother, who lies unconscious on the ground. Despite everything, she risked her life to protect him. He might not fully trust her yet, but he knows it would have been far more dangerous if she hadn't been there. She still has a long way to go before she becomes truly useful in battle. But maybe she can be trusted after all. That comforting thought is the last thing in his mind before the recoil from his powers hits him like a truck. He collapses next to her, unconscious. When he finally wakes up, He has a bandage wrapped around his forehead, and a red-eyed stranger is changing his diaper. Achan doesn't recognize the man, and his first instinct is to launch a counterattack by peeing on him. The stranger blinks, then calmly wipes his face. Achan's mother rushes in, flustered, and apologizes profusely, hoping the man isn't offended. He just laughs it off, guessing the baby must have been scared. He then casually asks if she's getting along with the dog. It turns out she knows the man. He's likely the dog's original owner. He thanks her for taking care of his old companion. Achan, on the other hand, is more worried about something else. His mother definitely saw the monster from earlier, so why is she acting like nothing happened? Then he notices his hair is damp. That could only mean one thing: she had been crying, probably while he was unconscious. The man tells Achan's mother that they're heading out to stock up on supplies and invites her to come along with them. That immediately grabs Achan's attention. Stockpiling resources with help from others isn't a bad idea at all. In fact, it might be the smartest move. But before he joins the group, he remembers something important. He still needs to retrieve the crystal core from the monster he defeated. He hops out of his stroller and scurries over to the remains. Using his toad tail, he absorbs the core and instantly gains the monster's power. This time, it's a hardening ability, and it fuses directly into his bloodstream. Not bad. Now his tail can be used as a kind of shield. Before heading back to the stroller, Achan notices the strange man from earlier talking on the phone. He hides nearby and overhears the man saying something disturbing. He's talking about Achan and his mother, calling them both burdens. Worse, the man admits the only reason he invited them is so they can serve as decoys in an emergency. At best, they're disposable. He then instructs the person on the other end of the call to take another vehicle and gather more supplies. While listening in, Achan accidentally bumps against the truck he's hiding behind. The man immediately turns around, ready to attack whoever's been eavesdropping. But when he sees it's just a baby, he lets his guard down and even chuckles. He pats Achan on the head and casually asks how he got over there. Then, returning to the phone, he says, "The baby heard everything, but who cares? It's just a baby." He adds, almost jokingly, "If he becomes a problem, I can always kill him." Achan lowers his head, a cold chill running down his spine. This man is completely insane. Soon after, everyone piles into a car. His mother straps Achan securely into a child's safety seat in the back. They set off, with the madman driving and 3 other passengers in the vehicle. Achan doesn't trust the driver one bit. If he had full control of his power, he'd crush the lunatic in an instant. As the group settles in, his mother tries to break the ice by offering snacks. It's surreal how calm everyone seems, given the state of the world. Achan wonders if they've even seen any footage of the monsters, or if they're just pretending it doesn't exist. The man starts the engine and waves to someone at the compound as they drive away. Achan realizes this kind of denial might just be a defense mechanism. Even when people see monsters or corpses, it doesn't always register that the world is ending. Sometimes, the only thing they can do is act normal and hide their fear. As the car continues through the town, Miss Ling opens a box of sandwiches to share. All the passengers are residents of the same apartment building as Achan and his mother. There's his mother, then Ling Yinggu from room 502, Denu from room 103, and Ryuka-san from room 104. His mother continues passing out snacks as they drive toward the supermarket. At one point, Ryuku-san asks her how she manages to raise a child alone, especially under such harsh conditions. She's young, pretty, and doesn't seem to be working. Taking a child outside in this chaos is dangerous. His mother explains that she considered leaving Achan at home, but every time she did, he would start acting out wildly. After thinking it over, she decided it was safer to bring him with her. Achan internally sighs, wishing she wouldn't talk about him like that in front of strangers. It's true things have been chaotic, but most of it has been because he's been busy saving them. Up front is Chin Minoru from room 504. The driver comments that Ling is actually useful in a fight. After all, she took down a huge monster with just a taser. They also brought the dog along, riding in a second truck for backup in case anything happens. Of course, Achan's mother still has no idea that it was her son who did most of the work during that last battle. As they continue through the town, the driver begins to feel uneasy. Something's off. There should be more monsters around, but the streets are strangely empty. Then they spot someone running along the road, clearly in distress, desperately looking for a place to hide. As the woman stumbles past a nearby building, the wall suddenly bursts open, and a massive hand reaches out for her. Suddenly, the girl on the street is swarmed by several monsters at once. The driver yells at everyone to hold on tight as he swerves the car, trying to avoid crashing into the monsters, or the girl. Both the car and the truck drift sharply, narrowly avoiding the cluster of creatures. They manage to slip past safely, but the danger isn't over. The dog barks loudly from the back seat as the monsters drag the girl to the ground. She screams for help, but the creatures pile onto her, tearing at her without mercy. It's been a chaotic day ever since Achan and his mother left their home. Now, surrounded by monsters, Achan takes a moment to analyze the situation. All the bug-headed monsters around them have sting marks on their necks, a clear sign they're being controlled. The one pulling the strings must be a parasite-type monster, a handler, likely some kind of cyborg. These parasitic handlers aren't powerful individually, but in groups, they're extremely dangerous. As long as the handler is alive, the cyborg monsters will keep multiplying. Their best option now is to escape, and fast. The monsters not currently attacking the girl begin making their way toward the car. They're getting too close for comfort. Within seconds, one of them crashes straight through the windshield. Achan quickly surveys the car. It's possible to survive this, but he'll have to act fast before the monsters grow too overwhelming. He only has 30 seconds of usable power. If he wastes it now, they're done for. He glances around, wondering if anyone in the car can actually fight. Ryu stares helplessly out the window, horrified at the girl being mauled just meters away. She starts yelling at everyone in the car to stop hesitating and do something. That instantly frustrates Achan. He can already tell she's going to be a liability. Instead of thinking of a plan or helping, she's just shouting for someone else to save her. They may as well leave her. She's clearly not built for a fight. Shin Minoru speaks up, pointing out the sting wound on the girl's neck, the same as the others. She's already infected, he says bluntly. She's a goner. It's a cold observation, but a sharp one. Minoru might be too old to fight, but his eyes are sharp and he might still be useful carrying supplies. The driver asks if they should just charge through the monsters and try to help, but if they do, they'd better be prepared to fight. Otherwise, they'll all die. Achan doesn't trust that plan. It sounds more like suicide than strategy. The person driving the truck behind them is likely Denku. He grabs a blunt object from the vehicle and says he'll help however he can. He looks like a coward, but maybe he's the kind who snaps and goes berserk under pressure. He insists he isn't scared, but it's clear he's barely holding it together. In truth, there's no one in the car capable of taking down the surrounding monsters. Achan's mother reaches into her bag and pulls out the stun gun she used before. Once Den sees she's planning to go out with a weapon, he quietly decides he doesn't need to go anymore. Then, out of nowhere, a sharp object pierces through the car, right into Den's chest. Before anyone can react, his body is tossed out like a rag doll. Sharp claws dig into the side of the vehicle as another insect-like monster sticks its grotesque head through the broken window. It wastes no time and drives its claw into Ryu, killing her instantly. This must be the main body that's the origin of all the cyborgs. It had been hiding, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. With no one left in the car capable of fighting, it looks like the baby will have to step up once again. But before Achan can move, a sharp stinger launches toward his mother. He's not fast enough to intercept it. It's going to hit her, but at the last second, it stabs into the seat cushion instead. They turn to the front of the car and see Shin Minoru holding the monster back with one hand. He immediately recognizes that this creature is the leader of the swarm. The monster tries to stab him in the face, but he grabs the stinger midair and breaks it. Clearly, this old man isn't just sharp-eyed. He's something else entirely. With a scream of rage, the monster shoves its own stinger into its neck and thrashes wildly until it finally collapses. Shin Minoru lets the lifeless body fall to the street below. Wiping the blood off his face, he mutters, "I'm getting too old for this." Meanwhile, Achan watches in admiration, realizing that the old man is an absolute powerhouse. But that awe quickly fades as he remembers something important. The fight isn't over yet. The monster on the ground hasn't been truly defeated. This type always has a second phase, and they can't afford to let their guard down. Achan doesn't know exactly who this old man is, but he's certain that just stabbing the heart won't be enough to finish the job. Right on cue, the monster begins to twitch, rising again with unmistakable hostility. Achan has no way to speak, no voice to issue a warning, so he does the only thing he can. He lets out a loud cry, sharp and urgent. The old man glances back just in time to dodge a sneak attack from the insect monster. He's seen this before, back when he was part of the Special Combat Division. He immediately realizes the truth. This monster won't die from a heart wound. It all makes sense now. The man's strength, his combat awareness, his speed. He's trained, military trained. Without hesitation, Shin Minoru jumps out of the car and rushes the monster to finish the job. This time, he isn't holding back. He grabs the creature by the head and drives his knee into its face with brutal force. The skull cracks on impact. Even from this brief exchange, it's obvious the man has combat instincts honed by real battle. His decision to aim for the head was immediate, tactical. Achan realizes he should have picked up on it earlier. The old man must have been part of the military, possibly even one of those legendary units. In his past life, when he was known as the organization's dog, the military had already been wiped out. But there were still rumors. Rumors that after the collapse of the government, the military became the strongest resistance against the monsters. Their core unit, the Special Combat Division. They were trained unlike anyone else, and they were a constant thorn in the side of the organization. Thanks to Chin Minoru's quick thinking, the team is finally safe to move on and head to the supermarket. Achan's mother suggests heading back home instead, but Chinoru immediately shuts that idea down. If they go back now, he says, something worse might happen. They have to keep moving forward. It finally feels like they've got someone reliable on their team. Now, Achan has to figure out how to keep this man close. Maybe he can send a fake military order, or blackmail Hot to feed them insider info. Or better yet, he could just cling to the man and force him to act as their bodyguard. The thought alone makes Achan grin mischievously. As he's plotting, Chinoru gently pats him on the head. He tells Miss Ling to stay close with the baby so he can keep them protected. She agrees without hesitation, promising not to be a burden and to follow his lead. Chinoru simply says not to expect too much. He's only doing what he can to help. She thanks him again for saving them earlier, but he brushes it off. If the baby hadn't cried out, I'd be dead, he says plainly. Then he looks directly at Achan and says, the more foolish a person is, the more they desire profit. It almost sounds like he just read Achan's mind, as if he knows what selfish ideas the child had earlier. Achan crosses his arms and decides to accept the old man's help, for now. But he's already convinced. Chinoru's kindness and sense of duty, those will be his biggest weaknesses. Eventually, they reach the supermarket they've been aiming for since the beginning, but the gate is locked. The ad claimed it would be open, but it looks very much closed for business. Achan suspects foul play, and he has a strong hunch that Hot is involved. Right then, the doors open. The driver grins and casually mentions that a friend opened it remotely. He flashes his phone and says, we should thank them later. Achan doesn't like that one bit. Suspicious, he sneaks his mother's phone from her bag and checks the messages. Sure enough, there's a recent text from Hot. She says she saw their car on the supermarket security cameras and remotely opened the gate for them. That confirms it. The driver definitely knows Hot, and now Achan is stuck with two shady people, Hot and the driver, both of whom are impossible to trust. Eventually, they all head inside the supermarket. Finally, after everything they've been through, they've reached their destination. The warehouse is massive and fully stocked with supplies. Achan exhales. For now, it seems like they've caught a break. There are no security cameras in this part of the supermarket, so Achan breathes a little easier. He can use his powers without worrying about being spotted. Then, he notices something else. The old man brought a full weapon rack with him. That's no surprise for a former Special Combat Division soldier. But just as things seem to be settling down, Achan realizes something is off. The man who guided them here, the one who's been leading them this whole time, is suddenly gone. And even stranger, there's no staff in the store, no one to check them out, no one behind the counters. As the group tries to figure out what's going on, a slow clap echoes through the warehouse. They look ahead. The man from earlier stands on top of a stack of boxes, wearing a smug grin and tapping on the crates around him. Then he makes his announcement. Everything in this store has already been purchased by my organization. Achan's heart sinks. The worst has happened. The man in front of them is a member of the organization. Even the dog senses it. It begins barking furiously, teeth bared. Finally dropping the act, the driver reveals his true colors. He confesses that he only brought them here to get access to the supplies. Now that he's done with them, they're just garbage to be thrown away. As he rambles, Achan spots a tattoo on the man's arm, unmistakable proof of his allegiance. With darkness in his eyes, the man declares, this supermarket now belongs to the East Lotus Society. The menace in his voice is directed especially at the old soldier. He pulls a weapon from his pocket and warns everyone not to move. But that name, East Lotus Society, sends a chill through Achan. He remembers them. This isn't just any branch of the organization. They're a special unit, the enforcers of the hunting project. Even before the calamity began, they were already committing unspeakable crimes. That explains everything. Their stockpiling, their secrecy. They know disaster is coming, and they're getting ready to dominate the aftermath. Achan had sensed something was wrong all along. Something about the man's voice, his smug tone. But now he's sure. This guy is dangerous, and baby Achan is ready to bring him down. Miss Ling and the old man instantly understand the gravity of the situation. They notice the lackeys beginning to surround them. But the old man is ready. Without hesitation, he grabs a nearby shovel and hurls it toward a generator. It hits with a loud clang, embedding deep into the machinery, which begins to spark ominously. The threat of an explosion looms in the air, but the driver stands calmly, unfazed. The old man doesn't miss the confidence in his eyes. Then, the man pulls out a remote. With a smug click, he takes control of the cart. The old man lunges at him, but suddenly, a stack of boxes collapses, knocking him back. He hits the ground hard, only to look up and find himself staring down the barrel of a gun. The organization member sneers. I don't let military rats slip away that easily. Don't move. But just as he's about to fire, Miss Ling steps in. Gun in hand, she points it at the man and demands he back away. She asks for answers. still not fully understanding the scope of what's happening. The man laughs. He's amazed she still doesn't get it. He even mocks her. Would you still think I'm innocent after I shoot you? But Ling, still stuck in her cheerful mindset, offers to share the supplies, as if this were some neighborhood gathering. The man actually chuckles at her. She thinks she's in control. He reminds her of when he left the dog with her, not out of kindness, but because when he went to collect payment from the original owner, the guy was already dead. So, he figured, why not dump the dog on her and watch what happens? Somehow, it worked out. But now, with his gun raised, he makes it clear. There's not enough for everyone, and weaklings like her don't deserve to survive. He snaps his fingers, and all his goons raise their weapons. That moment, that exact phrase, triggers a memory in Ahan, back when he was nothing more than a tool for the organization. When he was so hungry, he had to eat rats just to stay alive. Back when he was looked down on, treated like garbage, he snaps back to the present. The dog is already preparing to lunge. Ashan quickly throws slime toward the generator. Boom! The lights go out. Darkness floods the entire building. Gunfire stops. The boss shouts, telling everyone to stop shooting until they can see again. At the same time, he raises his gun. Achan sees the perfect opening and activates his power. He prepares a strike, but before he can land the punch, a sudden force crashes into the boss. Chin Minoru. With a swift kick, the old man takes the boss down hard. Achan and the old soldier lock eyes, both surprised. Neither expected the other to move first. Kei knows it's his own rotten luck to have been seen using his powers by the old man, a former military operative. Eventually, people like that always end up seeing powered individuals as threats. It's only a matter of time before they label him a monster and ship him off to be dissected as a research specimen. As expected, the old man is already thinking along those lines, eyeing Kei with suspicion, wondering if this baby is even human. Just as he prepares to act, Kei makes his move, leaping up onto a high storage rack, carefully settling into the old man's blind spot. The old man flicks on his flashlight, scanning the shadows. Kei had planned to activate the lights himself, but now he hesitates. He scoffs quietly. Looks like he has no choice. He'll have to take the old man down first. But just as he prepares to make his move, a sudden noise breaks the tension. Everyone turns to look. A strange slime slithers into view, drawing attention away from Kei. Smirking, Kei casually climbs into a trolley and settles in for the show. To his astonishment, the slime begins to morph, reshaping into a perfect copy of the old man. Then, the chaos erupts. All around the room, slime clones of the group begin to form and attack. Each person is now facing a mirror image of themselves. The old man curses under his breath and squares up against his own clone. Ling, wide-eyed and trembling, pleads with her doppelganger not to come closer. Her fear draws the old man's attention. He glances back and spots Kei, crying pitifully in his trolley, while a clone version of the baby tries to climb in beside him. To the old man, it looks like Kei has encountered this kind of creature before. Perfect, exactly as Kei intended. The crocodile tears were all part of the act. Now the old soldier will swoop in to protect the poor, helpless baby. And he does. Without hesitation, the old man lunges at the baby clone, only to grow frustrated when his attacks are useless. The clone simply reforms, its slime body immune to brute force. Tossing his shovel aside, the man changes tactics. He opens his weapons box and pulls out a gun. Meanwhile, Ling manages to destroy her clone with her electric weapon, electricity, a well-known weakness of slime. Kei does the same, shredding his own doppelganger with a brutal flurry of blows. The old man eventually blasts his clone apart with sheer firepower. But just as they begin to catch their breath, another clone hurtles toward Ling, only for the old man to shoot it down midair. The creature writhes, attempting to reform, but the old man keeps firing, determined to end it for good. Unfortunately, while he's still distracted, the boss gets back up. Kei sees it too late. The man lunges and grabs him, lifting him into the air. "Drop your weapons," he shouts, using Kei as a shield. The others freeze. What the boss doesn't realize is that he's made a terrible mistake. Achan smirks inwardly. He silently activates his slime ability and sends it toward one of the boss's nearby lackeys. Possessed, the lackey pulls a grenade from his belt and unseals it. Boom! A massive explosion rocks the supermarket. Smoke and dust fill the air. Though the boss survives the blast, he's disoriented, still gripping Kei, who uses the chaos to his advantage. With a swift motion, his tail snatches a glowing first-grade crystal core from the debris and absorbs it before anyone notices. The boss, staggering and covered in blood, stumbles into a nearby room and slams the door shut behind him. Inside, more goons are waiting. He barks orders at them, telling them to prepare the car. They're getting out of here. Now. At that moment, Kei spots something that makes his blood freeze, a tattoo, etched into the side of the man's neck, and with it, a name. Everything clicks. This man is Lai, the true boss of the organization. the one who made Kay's life a living nightmare in his previous life. Back then, Lai always wore a mask. Kay never got to see his real face. But now, by some twisted fate, he's seeing it while trapped in a baby's body. Kay glares up at him with such intensity that Lai actually feels it. Scowling, Lai snaps, "What are you looking at, you little brat?" Then, suddenly, a crimson mist begins to seep into the room. A deadly phenomenon in this catalyst-infested world. Crimson dust. Anyone who breathes it in either dies or mutates into something horrifying. Moments later, the effect begins. Several of Lee's men collapse, spasming as their bodies contort and transform into grotesque abomination. And in true Lai fashion, he doesn't hesitate. He picks up Kay and throws him forward. As monster bait. Without hesitation, Lai hurls the baby into the room filled with monstrous creatures and flees without looking back. But Kay, as always, understands the plan perfectly. He's not shaken. He's ready. Even with potential witnesses, it's time to unleash his true power. He pulls the crystal core from his pocket. The moment it activates, energy surges through him. In the blink of an eye, the infant vanishes, replaced by a full-grown fighter, muscles taut, eyes focused, body radiating raw power. One of the beasts charges. Kay doesn't flinch. His tentacles lash out, intercepting the creature mid-sprint and slicing it clean in half. Now fused with the crystal core, his abilities have evolved. The monsters barely feel real anymore, more like shadows than solid matter. Another beast fires a laser from its eye. Kay walks straight through the beam, utterly unfazed, and drives a blade-like tentacle through its chest. He almost chuckles. This new body feels so natural. His movements are clean, fluid, terrifyingly efficient. Tentacles lash and spiral through the air, cutting down the monsters like they're nothing but stalks of grass. Meanwhile, Lai, now watching from the other side, stands paralyzed. Horror creeps into his face. He missed the transformation. To him, this fully grown warrior seems like a stranger, a threat. But Kay knows better. He knows that Lee doesn't recognize him, and that just makes this moment all the sweeter. His eyes lock on Lai with cold precision. This isn't hesitation. This is revenge. Lai panics, drawing his pistol and firing. But Kay is faster than the bullet. This body, while not his original, is leaps beyond his infant form. In speed, strength, and reaction, he's unmatched. He closes the gap instantly. Lai barely registers the movement before he's hurled across the room, slamming hard into the wall. Blood spills from his mouth as he mutters something about a story he once heard, something he now believes was true. Kay briefly wonders what story that could be, who told him, but there's no time to dwell. Lai suddenly pulls a syringe from his pocket and injects himself with a strange, dark fluid. Within seconds, his body twists and writhes, muscles convulsing, bones snapping. Kay watches in grim recognition. Long before the Great Catalyst, the organization had already begun experimenting with this drug, a serum that transformed humans into monsters without robbing them of their sanity. Lai grows, flesh hardens, limbs stretch. His form mutates into something grotesque. Kay's stomach turns, and then the monster lunges. Kay barely blocks the attack in time, retaliating with a flurry of tentacles. But from just that one clash, he knows. This isn't like the others. This is the monster that killed him in his past life. The silver tentacles strike again, lightning fast, deadly accurate. Kay narrowly dodges, his mind racing. This thing was designed to trap him. The realization sends a cold shiver through his spine. But he's not the same person, not that broken, helpless version of himself. He won't die to the same monster twice. With renewed focus, Kay ducks and weaves between attacks, pushing his body to its limits. Then, boom! An explosion rocks the battlefield. As the dust clears, Kay sees the old military man, Chin Minoru, reloading his rifle, calm as ever. He's using bullets stolen from the East Lotus Society. Kay can't help but smirk at the irony. Using the enemy's weapons to fight their own creation. Chin targets the monster. Lai, now fully transformed. Kay watches as the tide begins to shift. The game is changing, and this time, it's turning in his favor. Lai, in the meantime, remembers how he came to this point. It began when a woman from the organization approached him, whispering of an impending catastrophe. She promised that joining them was the only way to survive. As a gift, she handed him a vial, the same serum he just used, claiming it would unlock his true nature. He didn't believe her at first. He thought he already knew himself. But once he took the drug, once his monstrous instincts surfaced, he understood. She had been right all along. He was a monster, one born to manipulate and exploit. Even as a child, he showed signs. One day, he told an overweight woman that her husband was cheating. When she grew angry, he proved it by saying he overheard the man calling her an ugly, snoring pig. Crushed, the woman turned on her husband. The man, hurt and betrayed, divorced her. Devastated, broken, she spiraled into despair. And that's when Lai appeared again. Not as the villain, but as her savior. Smiling sweetly, he told her he knew people. People who wouldn't bully her. People who understood. She believed him. She followed him. And just like that, another soul fell into his trap. This is how Lie manipulates hearts, earning people's trust only to drain them dry later. His cunning turned him into a smooth-talking predator, a monster hiding in human skin. That's why he now exists as a level 4 monster known as Trickster Lie. Everything Kay is seeing right now, the hallucinations, the monstrous vision from his past death, is a result of Lie's mind games. Meanwhile, Lie conserves his energy, waiting for the perfect chance to strike and secure victory. But suddenly, a bullet whizzes into him, fired by the old man who's somehow still on his feet. Furious, Lie launches another attack, but the old man stays hidden, countering with a series of explosions that fill the air with smoke and dust. In the chaos, Kay sneaks behind Lie. The moment he strikes, Lie roars in anger, shocked that Kay broke free from the hallucination so quickly. Kay steps forward, calm but deadly, calling Lie out for what he is, a third-rate fraud who will never be anything more. With a sweep of his tentacles, Kay slices at him, while Lie curses his ability. Lie tries once more to ensnare Kay in illusions, but they no longer work. Kay, remembering how he died to this trick once before, silently thanks him for the reminder. Before unleashing everything he has, Lie is terrified. Kay lunges at him with lightning speed, forcing him to the ground. Blood pouring from his wounds, Lie barely manages to mumble a weak retort, but Kay already knows. This is just the beginning. In 2 hours, a new crimson dust wave will hit, stronger and more devastating than any before. A wave that could tear the world apart. Determined to end things, Kay prepares the final blow. Lie, panicked, tries to stall, but Kay cuts him off. He doesn't care about any last word. The old man watches closely from a distance. Kay knows Lie won't go down easy. He aims straight for his neck, but then an illusion strikes. Kay sees his mother begging him not to kill her. That brief hesitation costs him. A barrage of explosions hits him, and Lie strikes again. Kay barely escapes. Lie sneers, saying he can read Kay like a book now, that Kay has only one attack left. Frustrated, Kay considers leaving Lie to the old man. But Lie, reading his hesitation, dodges the old man's next shot and mocks them both. Regular weapons won't cut it. Drunk on confidence, Lie makes a move toward the old man's hiding place, only to trigger a grenade. The explosion wounds him, and Kay praises the old man's brilliant trap. But where is he? Suddenly, the old man appears behind Lie, ready to land the final strike, but Lie dodges. He turns to retaliate, just as Kay yells his name. It throws him off. Lie smirks, asking if Kay wants to see his future. But in that moment of arrogance, the old man fires again. As the bullet hits, Kay shoves a vision into Lie's mind, one where he's weak, broken, and always beneath others. Lie screams in denial. More visions follow, him kneeling, degraded, useless. Enraged and spiraling, Lie swings wildly and slices his own head off. Everyone is stunned. Kay just grins. He's done it. He fooled the greatest liar of them all. As Lie's severed head hits the floor, it flashes with Kay's memory.